Okay, so today I'm gonna show you how to um, compute for um, that which we call the intrinsic value. Okay, so intrinsic value lang pala sasabihin. So, okay, so 2000, for example, this is a scenario of a company with this kind of an earning scenario for the past many years. So, siguro, ang tanong natin dyan is that uh, saan makakita ng ganyan? Well, you have an option to get this from their website, their financial statements, ganyan. So, pwede naman. Okay. So, let's just randomize the event. So, let's say the revenue is uh, 1 plus. I'm just putting a random number, okay? 1 to 100 by 100. Okay. Hindi ko alam kung anong lumabas doon, right? Parang sobrang laki naman. So, huwag na sigurong 1 to 100. Let's say, hindi, ito na lang. The divisor should be like that. Oops. Okay, so this is a very believable. Control copy lang muna tayo and then paste. Paste special values. So, let's just say that this is your values. Nagawin lang natin siyang accounting. So, we have these revenues for the past many years. Okay, tapos for example, you have net income. Ito yung mga critical talaga sa pag-analyze ng company, syempre. The revenues and the net income. So for example, naglalaro yung kanyang we'll just play this by the profit margin, okay? So the profit margin, let's say the profit margin is a number between let's say 1%, 1%. Okay, 1%, that's too low. So, sabihin na natin 10%. 10%, so mamaya i-divide ko to by 10. 10% and 20%. Okay? And then, so, divide ko by 100. Okay, so that's your net profit margin. Net profit margin is in terms of percent. So, you multiply this by this, divide by 100. Okay? Okay, so this is your net income. Okay, I think this should be uh, okay, so that it's not random anymore. Alright, so these are examples of your data that you could get from your financial statements, right? So you have the revenues increasing, usually ganito naman, no? And then the net income, medyo fluctuating because there are times when the profit margin goes low. Like for example, in this point in time, no, 2018, mobile net profit margin. I'm sure there's a story and you can look for that, no? How come the net profit margin is low in 2018? Okay, so paano natin mako-compute ang intrinsic value? And how do we know what would be the value of the stock? What should be a fair market value of the stock in 2020, in 2021? So there should be a target price, right? So there are additional data that we need. Siyempre, we have to know the outstanding number of shares. Usually given naman yan, no? It's given in your financial statements. Of course, what you cannot project or what you cannot forecast is the release of additional shares, buyback of additional shares, yung mga ganung bagay. It's simply beyond forecast, right? But let's just put as an example, assumption natin is that the outstanding shares never go up dramatically. So parang more or less it's the usual outstanding shares never hindi siya tumataas, hindi siya bumaba. Okay, so let's just put it as a um, constant, no? So let's say ang outstanding shares natin kasi ito this is billion. So when you say 17,811, that means 17 billion 800,000. All right. Okay. So let's say that the outstanding shares is yan. So let's say the outstanding shares is 1 billion. Okay. Siyempre walang ano yan, no? 1 billion. 1 billion outstanding shares. So from this, you'll be able to know the earnings per share, right? Siyempre, yung earnings per share would be the net income. Net income is in millions, right? Kasi billion yung 1. So this should be times 1, 123, 123. So that's a million divided by the number of outstanding shares. And this should be put as that, parang ang pinili ko lang dun is F4, no? In order to denote that when you copy this kasi, so for example, when you copy that, okay, if you copy, then if you will notice, okay, hindi nag-move, right? So if this is your earnings per share, right? And of course, there is the price, right? So for example, ito yung price ending, and this is usually given, no? Sa called financial given yan. So let's say nung end of 2009, earnings per share being 1.23. So um, let's say ganito na lang, nagagawa na lang ako ng price earnings. Well, the price earnings multiple, usually, meron yan, no, per per company. So let's say nung 1.23 siya, the price earning multiple is 15. Okay? So syempre ang kanyang price would be 18.55 more or less, right? Now, tumaas siya the next year. So if that happens, usually ang price earnings multiple tumataas din. So let's say naging 17 siya nung time na yun. Again, this is not foolproof, no? And of course, this should be given. Ito given do, no? I'm just putting it as sort of a random event na pinapakita ko lang sa inyo how it goes, no? So again, the next year tumaas ng konti lang. Okay, this is a fraction. So 153 naging 154. So usually the market is not amused by that. It's not uh, the market doesn't want that kind of movement, no? Medyo maliit lang. So let's say bumaba ulit siya sa 15. So it goes back to 2013, even though the earnings per share increased, right? Tumaas na naman siya, 156. Pero since the market is bored with that kind of stuff, let's say bumaba siya sa 13 times price earnings. Okay, so instead na. And this happens usually instead na bumababa yung instead na tumataas yung price, tumababa pa yung price because of the price earnings multiple. Ngayon ang tanong siguro, who decides this? No one. Everybody does. The market decides on this. I mean, they don't have this in mind. In fact, they don't have all of this in mind. It's just that, okay, lumabas ang earnings per share, hindi masyadong maganda. So, they dump the stocks. And kaya nga, since the market is not behaving logically, you have to behave logically. You know that eventually this stock would eventually go up. Like for example, in this case, tumaas siya ng 2.02. What will happen to the earnings multiple? I'm sure it will raise up. Kasi ang increase dito, if you will see, diba? Ang increase niyan is about 29%. So nag-increase ang earnings per share by 29%. I'm sure they will put it in the newspapers and all that. And suddenly, yung 13, babalik ulit yan sa 15. Baka hindi lang, no? Let's say bumalik na siya sa 15. So, tumaas ka agad ng 30.38. Ang price mo, tumaas ng 50%. Now, it's only at 15. I'm sure the market will still rally with this kind of company. And next year, tataas ulit yan. So, if it trades at 18 times price earnings, okay pa din yan sa market. Kasi remember, ang average ng market natin, ng ating stock market is about 15 times PE. Again, hindi ito formula, it is just what happens in the market usually. So again, balik tayo dito, no? Tumaas ulit si earnings per share ng 2.62. Earnings per share ng 2.62. So I'm sure since the market is trading at 15 to 18 times, it's 2015. I don't know what happened in 2015, but if that happens, then the market will test a higher PE, higher than the average. Maybe it will even reach 20 times. And kung mapapansin niyo yung movement ng stock, simula siya ng 18, naging 26, bumaba ng 20, bumaba ng 20, tumaas ng 30, that's about 50% increase. Tumaas ng 12 pesos na naman out of the 30, which is about let's see. Nasa edge na to, hindi makikita. So, about 40% increase. And then tumaas na naman siya ng 10 pesos out of 42, that's about 25% increase na naman, 23%. So I'm sure the market is elated and all that, and they will still continue to recommend this stuff. But then a peculiar thing happened in 2016. Siyempre, bumaba yung net profit margin niya, 228 na lang ang earnings per share niya. So hindi kagad-agad bababa to from 20 to let's say 13. Let's assume na of course a lot of people bought here, they will not easily be swayed by this. Let's say it goes back to 17 times per earnings. Okay, so kahit na ganun ka konti ang baba, if you will notice, it has already shed about 14 pesos. 14 pesos divided by 52 is about 27% down. Okay, so if you held on to that stock, it maybe you would have questioned yourself, sayang, dapat pala nabenta ko na, right? But then, a funny thing happened. In 2017, tumaas ulit yung net profit margin. So, yung earnings per share naging 3.13. I'm sure tataas naman ulit si stock. No? So, yung 17, malamang hindi magiging 20 agad, no? Because fresh pa sa memory nila yung mababa yung price. So, it becomes it raised back to 18 times per earnings, but still parang wala nangyari, no? If you held on to your stock from 2015, tumaas ka pa ng 4 pesos. This happened so many times before. Happened to San Miguel, happened to a lot of companies. So, but if you bought at the low, then you would have earned 45%. Diba? So, yun yung kagandahan nun. But then, look at this, 11% net profit margin in 2018, 1.87 lang ang earnings per share. I'm sure bababa ulit yan. So sabihin siguro ng mga may hawak ng stock, nako talaga yung 18 times valuation, masyadong mataas yan eh. So they dump the stock, and then balik siya sa 15 times per earnings, historical average niya yun, for example, and now nangalahati yung price ng stock. But then if you will look at the revenue, tumataas naman ah. Bakit ganun, di ba? So that's why this is the thing that's happening to our stocks. They don't see this. What they see are so many things, but particularly they focus on the earnings per share and the multiple of the price earnings. At least hindi nila ito compute, but the market automatically does. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so it goes back to 3.06. Okay, so fresh pa sa kanila yung nagbaba ng ganyang kataas. So let's say nag-creep up si price earnings at nagilang siyang 16.5. So hindi man lang 17 but 16.5. O sige, sabihin natin 16 na lang. So 16 means 49 divided by 28. That means 75% increase. Okay? So this is assuming na hindi tumataas ang outstanding shares, ha? Of course, if the outstanding shares moves from 1 million to 1,100,000, 1,200,000, so it's a different ball game. Ibang-iba na naman yun, right? So now ang tanong, hindi yun yung tanong natin, remember? Our question is, how do you now compute for the intrinsic value? So usually, ang intrinsic value talaga is focused on not only the revenue and the net income, net profit margin. Maraming bagay talaga, no? You look at the earning potential of the company, you look at the internal strength of the company, the management, Do you think that the company, yun yung first question do you think that the management is sound? Is is the management sound? Okay? Sound mind, logical ba? Magaling ba yung management? So if that is the case, then this company could still be improving. Okay? The next question would be growth wise. What would hamper the growth of this company in the next couple of years? Meron bang problem? So you will put in all your analysis on yung mga factors ng ng economics, market forces. You would look at the five forces, 'di ba? All of these things, SWOT, best. Of course, if you're not familiar with those things, you can just read through the papers. You will notice naman that everybody has something to say about the economy, what's happening export-wise, the demand, etc. So all these things are going to factor in. Of course, right now, we know that the revenues would really shrink. So there will be a new normal after the old has gone dahil of the COVID and all that. So I'm sure the revenue would go down. But even if that's the case, then it would go down, but then eventually it will rebound kasi the demand will always be there. Ang demand kasi is dependent on the population. If the population decrease by so much, yes, it will be affected for a while, no, for a time, katulad na nangyari ng mga flu, ng Spanish flu, World War One, after that, 'di ba? World War One, World War Two, and all the pandemics that happened in the world. Usually, after all that, then the population still grows, and of course the demand will always be there. Now, if this company is a sound company, merong siyang sound management, maaring there will come a point in time that kung talagang worst scenario, let's project worst scenario, it goes down to half lang ng revenues. So let's say it only goes to half of the revenues. So this will be naging 8905 na lang. Now the net profit margin would also suffer kasi meron mga fixed cost yan. Nagpapasweldo pa rin sila ng mga tao nila unless tanggal sila ng mga tao nila. I'm sure that would be part of the equation. But let's say ang naging profit margin lang nila is 5.3% or 5.5%. So if that happens, the net income would just be 489 million. And this would be really affecting their bottom line. Earnings per share, 0.48 na lang. And I'm sure the market will suffer greatly. Yung 15 times na yan, 18 ng market, it will not happen anymore. It will go to about 10 to 12 times PE on a crisis, and eventually go as low as 8 to 10, 7 to 8, 5 to 7 even. But the early days, it will be like this. So let's say medyo maswerte pa siya, nag-isang 12. So what will happen to the stocks? It will plunge from 49 to 5. If you have an unhealthy heart, then I'm sure you would have you would really feel the thunder. You would feel very, very bad about this. But then you have to look at it from the perspective of growth, long term. Okay, after this, what will happen? Maybe it will increase. Okay, maybe not so much. But eventually, what will happen is it will go back to this revenue stream in a matter of years, 2 years maybe. All right. So let's move this aside. Bago ba yun? Bakit? If I remove this, okay, so lahat pala magbabago. It will now be 20. Okay. So if in 2021, it goes up Okay, syempre babalik na yan, no? Let's say 24%. Okay, 11. So that's the 2012 um, revenue level. And syempre, at this point in time, nakapaghanda na si company, yung 5.5 na profit margin niya, I'm sure the company would be able to do something from their fixed cost, yung variable cost nila. I'm sure they will do something in order to uh, increase their profit margin. And this is the reason why ang unang kong sinabi is the management sound. Because if not, then baka mag-fold yung company yun. But this company are the likes of Ayala's, now the Ayala Corporation, Vistaland, Villar, mga San Miguel, mga Lusutan. Of course, they have been around for a long time already and they would not let this slip away. Okay, so they cannot stop. So 5.5%, maaring sa susunod na taon, balik na sila sa 10%. So, 1.1 billion, hindi pa rin siya kasing laki ng 2009 version, but maybe the price earnings would still go down for a year. Who knows? No? Maring 10 to 12 pa rin yan. So, let's say 12 pa rin siya. Kung 12 pa rin siya, medyo okay na, no? From 5 maging 13. Diba? Let's say 11 lang siya, no? Kasi hindi pa rin believe yung tao sa mangyayari. But in 2022, if that streak continues, then it goes back to 13 billion and that's the 2015 level. So nakalimutan na natin masyado I mean, hindi na rin naalala ang nangyari sa COVID. And maybe it will go to 12.5%, 1.7 billion. The earnings per share is 1.7, and at last it will go back to, sabihin natin 14, medyo ano pa siya, no? 14 times. So 23 na siya. Okay? And if you bought at the lowest level in nung nag 5, aba ay nag times 5 na yung pera mo. In 2023, let's say nag-improve lang siya ng 12%. Quiet. Okay? Ay, ba't nawala? Okay, so ang net profit margin niya patuloy na tumataas, naging 15%. Earnings per share is 2.3 and this time bumalik na siya sa 15 times price multiple and it goes back to 34. And of course, people would have forgotten what happened in 2020. So what I'm saying is that you always take a long-term view sa market. You cannot stay within your line of thinking with the current scenario. The current scenario always tells you what is wrong with other people's mindset. Of course, while you are here during this time, I'm sure na hindi ka din matatahimik, alright? Hindi ka rin matatahimik. Siyempre, ma-feel mo rin yung no, there's anxiety, there's worry, there's problem. But eventually, it will be over. Itong example ko rito, yung company nangalahati lang eh. Merong chance na mag-lose sila ng money. Mas lalo na yun. I'm sure bababa talaga ng todo yan. No? It will go to as low as possible without turning over the reign of the company to another person. Bakit ko sinabi yun? Because if the company's price hit rock bottom, another person might come in, and buy the company. If you're Ayala, for example, and ito mga 18 pesos, or let's say this is SM Prime Holdings, you cannot allow another person to take over SM. At 588, if I were, the one of the sons of SM, of Henry C, the late Henry C, then mag-i-issue ako ng mga buyback, dyan. Sige, ganyan kababa ang presyo namin. Sige, we'll buy back all those shares. Kasi we have cash. Diba? So it's not really a problem for owners of the company. Ang mangyayari lang dyan, they will buy back the shares. So, so kaya nga, my line of thinking is that you have to think like an owner. If this is your company, you cannot stop uh, operating, right? Kasi company mo yan eh. So, back tayo sa question ng intrinsic value. The intrinsic value goes beyond the numbers. But if you will look at the numbers as it is now, then it is the revenues as it continues to increase absent any yung mga fluctuation niya of a year to year basis, but it will continue to move up. There's always a trend line moving up. So let's look at this, no. So igagawin ko lang tong nagawa lang ako ng chart. All right, so let's look at the chart. Okay, di ba yun yung chart natin, right? So if this is your chart, and so if this is your chart, tanggalin natin itong chart title, right? Okay, if that is your chart, then kung mapapansin natin, meron ditong pwede kang maglagay ng trend line. No? So if the trend line is your intrinsic value or whatever, no? Trend line, moving average, let's say the moving average is about 5 years or 6 years. 5 years, sabihin natin yun ang cycle. O for property sector, 7 years. So if this is your trend line, di ba? At this point in time, mataas ka sa trend line, right? But this is like, this trend line follows you. Okay? Increasing. But then, something happened, the trend line goes sideways. Tutuloy ka na naman ulit. So, you will see that maybe your intrinsic value is your trend line, following whatever your year to year is. So, tingnan mo lang yun, find out where you could put your base and forecast from there. Para sa akin, ang tingin ko lang talaga is always, if the company is sound, if the management is sound, and nakita mo yung kanilang value proposition, the business is sound. Like for example, if it's a property, if it's part of the property sector, hindi naman porke nagkaroon ng COVID and all that, yung lupa, bababa na ang presyo, right? I mean, it could be down for 5, 10, 15 years. But after a while, it will go up again. So, think of that long-term, big picture, owner mentality. Dapat ganun ang thinking natin mga nag-invest sa stock market. So that you will see that everything that happens on a year-to-year basis, on a month-to-month basis, on a quarter-to-quarter basis, lahat yan temporary. Nothing is permanent. The long-term is what matters really. And the management of the company is what matters. If the management is not good, is not sound, then wala na. Wala na mangyayari sa company na yan. Kaya nga, that's my beginning. Find a company that has a sound management, and everything will be okay. Wait while I kill my cat. Just kidding.